Hello, everyone. Great to be here. Fantastic to see so many countries represented in the chat as well. I'm head of corporate partnerships at Social Enterprise UK. Been working at SEUK for about 3.5 years, and social procurement is my passion. So I love working with big businesses and helping them to connect with social enterprises. Looking forward to a great discussion. Thank you.
Thank you, Andy. Jennifer?
Hi, good morning, good afternoon, good evening. My name is Jen Beeson, and I am standing in for my incredible colleague, Alexandra Vanderplug. So thank you for accepting me in this last minute change. I lead SAP's social entrepreneurship strategy. So we look at everything from inspiring new innovation to and through growing social procurement, not only at our own company, but around the world. Great to be here with you.
Thank you, Jennifer, for stepping in last minute like this. Really appreciate. Lucy.
Hi, everyone. My name is Lucy Durand. I am part of Yunus social business, leading our program dedicated to social procurement. It's called Unusual Partners. YSB is a leading organization dedicated to social business and social innovation. We work with international companies to develop projects or strategies to drive positive impact embedded in their business operations. I'm also here with my amazing colleague as well, Joe Bautista, who is our partnership manager and who will be here in the chat room with you as well.
Thank you, Lucy. And last but not least, our very own Jamie, who is also from the SPP organization. Jamie.
Thank you. Welcome everybody also from my side. It's amazing what we are doing today. And I'm really looking forward to the questions later on. So about myself, I'm the head of procurement and vendor management with SEUK Insurance Company. I'm based in Germany and my responsibility area is the EMEA region. But as Sonia also mentioned, I'm one of the co-chairs for supplier diversity with the SPP team. So I can completely encourage you to participate as an ambassador or even to volunteer for being one of the co-chairs as well. Thank you.
Great, thank you. So with all this great introduction from our speakers, I will hand the floor over to Lucy, who will start our first session, well, the first part of our session, sorry. And here we go. Lucy, the floor is yours, and just tell me when you want me to change the slides.
Perfect. Thanks so much, Sonia. And just before I start, I just want to say also that we are really pleased to be here today. It's the same thing as all of the other panelists are saying. It's an incredible journey, an incredible panel here. So thanks everyone, and big shout out to the SPP team for organizing this event. And I'm just going to jump right into our topic for today, social procurement. Most of you are probably familiar, I would imagine, if you come to this event, with this strategy that is rising very quickly. It's the process for companies and their procurement function to proactively select social enterprises and as suppliers for product or services, and therefore drive positive impact inside their value chain. And I'm going to give a quick strategic outlook here. If you take a look on the right, this is a sustainability supply chain leadership ladder. And we all know that sustainability and impact are not seen anymore through a moral lens, but through a strategic one. I'm going to take only one figure here because throughout the day we have been hearing already many of them, but I believe this one reflects this rapid shift. It is coming from the EcoVadis barometer in 2021, and 63% of executives coming from different industries are saying right now that sustainability is one of the key priorities for their procurement, compared to only 25% 2 years before. So we really see that it's changing very quickly. And this change actually in the implementation does not work simply like that. We know it requires a multiple layer process, right? Getting in-depth visibility in your value chain, ensuring compliance still represent a huge part of the work in terms of resources, negotiation with suppliers, and data management. But what we hear and what we see is that there is a risk to get stuck in the compliance trap, or what is called the compliance trap, between the second and the third layer, and have difficulties to move from a we do not harm towards a we do good approach. And that's the ultimate goal, because this is what is expected from the consumers, the employees, and increasingly from the investors themselves. Social procurement here represents an opportunity to leapfrog the ladder because the social enterprises who will become your suppliers create a positive impact on society by their very nature. Therefore, your contracts mean more operations and more impact for them. And in that sense, procurement is uniquely positioned to boost the company's social impact and sustainability efforts. And I just want to clarify a point here. None of us today will say that social procurement replaces the other stages. You just need to tackle actually all of them at the same time and slowly improve your performance for each of them. Social procurement is catalytic to sustainability and complementary to the other stages. And I have the chat open on seeing already the question on how do you define social enterprise. So Sonia, if you can move to the next slide, that's exactly where I'm gonna go. And I could spend an hour, or we could spend an hour talking about this, so I'm gonna be quick. For those who are not familiar with this term, social enterprise, it's a type of organization that operates just like a business, but the particularity is that the goal of the organization is to address a social problem and deliver a solution through its model. Financial profitability in that sense is a tool towards a social goal and not the end in itself. And this is not anecdotal. There are now thousands of social enterprises around the world. Some countries have already, I'm going to try to speak louder.
So we hear you well and loud.
Yeah, I see in the chat. Some countries have already legal status in place to acknowledge this status of social enterprise, and there are granular definition according to the country or to the organization. Here you can see on the slide the European definition with 3 criteria covering the reason for the commercial activities that needs to be a social cause, the profits that are mainly reinvested to achieve the social objective, and the organizational and ownership structure of the company. So those are the 3 main points you can have in mind, and then you have different definitions depending on the sector and the countries. And you can move to the next one. Yeah. And something I wanted to emphasize here is that no matter in which industry do you work with or in which procurement categories you are focused on, social procurement can be leveraged in many, many cases. On top of raw commodities or low-skilled labor-intensive services, B2B social enterprise cover today a wide range of products and services, including IT services, office management, or product end-of-life services. And this is something interesting because we sometimes don't think about them in those areas. You can see here on the bottom of the slide some examples of social enterprises at different stages of the value chain. All of them are featured as business cases in our report, the Social Procurement Manual, that we will share the link so you can download for free, all of them. They are very mature social enterprises with a strong track record working with multinationals such as IKEA, L'Oréal, Deloitte, or Microsoft. This is not an exhaustive, obviously, just to give examples. And one of the goals of our program Unusual Partner is to support your company to find these social enterprises all around the world and help you get ready for them the same way as they are getting ready for you. And you can move. Perfect. I personally like the momentum that we have, all of us today, on social procurement, because it is still an innovative topic, and the companies that are starting doing social procurement benefit from a leading and innovative position in their industries. But the sector is also structured and benefits from the past experience of more than a decade. So we do have many strong cases of successful partnership and best practices in terms of strategy and implementation. Some companies that you can see on the slide are already committed intensively to social procurement. And I didn't put Zurich, but obviously he's going to be talking about this as well. I featured those 3 of them with IKEA, who set up an in-house accelerator program for their social enterprise suppliers. The sneaker brand Veja, that you might know, who has been working with social enterprises since the beginning, including for all their logistics services in France. And you can hear later on Jen, who will talk about their 5x5 commitment, 5x5 by 25 commitment. So hearing from those companies and those procurement managers who have been working on social procurement for a long time, we were able to capture what is the tangible value for social procurement. And I just want to share a little bit about this with you today in order to help you position social procurement inside your company and convincing your colleagues and your stakeholders, because this is the topic for today. So as you can see on the slide, we basically have set up 3 layers of value for a procurement manager and for his or her company at large. You can start. Yeah. The first one is the strategic value or core reason to do social procurement. How do you position this topic inside your company? Where do you tie it up to the existing strategies that are already there in your company? So we interviewed more than 40 organizations on social procurement, and for 80% of them, this is tied to the company's value and purpose. Most companies have now a purpose statement, something clearly stated on their website and internally, and it's translated into strategic projects. So it's worth taking a look at it and try to make a direct connection here. But more precisely, for 60% and 55% of them, social procurement is actually part of their brand differentiation strategy or business innovation. And I think it's interesting to notice that it's ranking even higher than the ESG strategy or the public pressure to do good. And this shows the approach we should all have on this topic. You work with large suppliers and you're trying to improve their ESG performance. But at the same time, when you start including small suppliers who are really performing well in ESG, you can bring more innovation to your company. And you also have powerful stories that are really tangible and easy to communicate and to understand internally and externally. Moving to the value for money, exactly. Yes, we have strategic reason to do social procurement, but how much do you compromise on regular procurement KPIs? I guess this is one of the main questions we often have. This is where we need to tackle some assumption or myth that have been associated to anything with the word social attached on it. Our research shows that social enterprises are actually quite frequently competitive on the five regular procurement metrics: supply assurance, quality, price, volume, and delivery on time. This is not to say that everything is simple. It varies a lot according to which product or industry we are talking about. It is slightly more expensive in some cases. And in other cases, we actually have companies today telling us that they ran internal studies internally that demonstrate that social enterprises are actually more productive and cost-effective than traditional suppliers. So you just need to start considering them as potential suppliers. Yes, and they represent, I'm trying to answer quickly on some questions that I see. And this is a sample representing many different social enterprises from around the world, not only in Europe. And therefore, you can bring this internally. Many social enterprises are competitive and will provide you with product or services of great value. And this is even more true when we integrate this dimension of impact premium or the material benefits that it brings. Buying social is not only strategic, first layer, or competitive, but it also pays off for your company. In more than 80% of the cases, companies that are doing social procurement notice the positive impact on employee engagement, as well as the mindset shift and cultural change towards more purpose. This is quite significant, as we know that employee retention and talent attraction is one of the growing challenges for companies for the future. And I find interesting that in most of the time, companies also have noticed the impact on goodwill and buy-in from external stakeholders. You might be interested in this if your company is working and engaging with public bodies or with civil society. You can see the other benefits here on the slide, and I'm inviting you once again to download our social procurement manual if you want more detail on what doing social procurement and how to implement it. And of course, we are very happy, Joe and me, to start discussing with any of you on this.
Thank you, Lucy.
Yeah,
there's still one, sorry.
Exactly, to sum up. And before I leave the floor quickly to Andy, who will share his perspective from the Social Enterprise UK, let me try to sum up here. how do you position social procurement inside your company and get many people on board? Social procurement could be a key component of your sustainable procurement strategy and concretely drive positive impact in your value chain. You can get, as we said, product or services of great values from social enterprises and yield at the same time benefits for your company, improving brand perception, increasing employee engagement, reaching your ESG strategy in a cost-effective manner. And something that I haven't mentioned before, which is quite important actually, is anticipating regulation, because there is a rising focus from public authorities on this topic, especially in the European Union. So you can pick up the argument according to your company and your stakeholder that you are about to speak with, and reach out to us if you need any support on this. And thanks, and over to you, Andy. And I see on the chat that some of you were not able to hear me very well, so I guess that the session will be recorded anyway, and you will have access to the slides.
The session indeed is being recorded, and all the slides and all the materials will be made available on the spp.earth. Thank you so much, Lucy. Very interesting. Andy, over to you.
Okay, thanks everyone. Lots to unpack from Lucy there, but some people might be asking, well, this all sounds great in theory. Does this really work in the real world? And so I just want to spend a few minutes talking about what we've been doing in the UK. So Social Enterprise UK, we're the national body for social enterprises. In the UK, we do operate on a European pilot. Now we're trying to expand our work into Europe, working with some fantastic partners, some of whom are on the call. I want to talk first about the UK program that we've run since 2016, the Buy Social Corporate Challenge. So we launched it with the support of the UK government. It's a simple initiative with a bold ambition. We brought together a group of high-profile businesses that were aiming to collectively spend £1 billion with social enterprises through their procurement. And so we decided, let's go for a big number. Let's go to the next slide, please. So that was the ambition behind the program. We started with 7 partners, and we've now got 30 partners. Actually, there's a couple more that have joined since we did this slide, but you can see that this works across all industries. We've got SAP on there, we've got Zurich on there, but you'll recognize a lot of those other companies, obviously. Some of them are UK-only companies, but lots of global corporations as well. And so, yeah, really pleased to see that it works across all of these different sectors. So that's who's on the program. If we go to the next slide, we wanted today to focus on the impact of this program. And every year we bring out our annual Buy Social Corporate Challenge report. Our latest report actually came out about almost a year ago. So these numbers that I'm going to show you are about 10 months out of date, but it shows you what was achieved in the first 5 years of the program. And the headline figure is we haven't quite hit the £1 billion mark yet, but we've made good progress. We're on £165 million spent. That was as of sort of spring last year. That's cumulatively, collectively. So the group of businesses in years 1 to 5 spent that with social enterprises. I just want to pick out one of the number at the top there. 2,000 jobs, more than 2,000 jobs were directly or indirectly created at social enterprises thanks to this spend. And very often, of course, with these being social enterprises, they are jobs for people with barriers to the labour market. So we're really proud of these numbers. Our year 6 report will be coming out in the next few months, but this is these are the snapshot figures from year 5. If we move to the next slide, we also every year ask these 30 corporate partners a few questions. What benefits does this bring? So what have they actually brought you so far? And just to pick out a few interesting ones here. So increased supplier diversity. This has really gone up in recent years for lots of reasons that we're all very familiar with, I'm sure. And I think it's probably useful for me to pull in some other research here from SEUK reports, because when we look at the social enterprise landscape across the UK, we find very strong diversity in the leadership teams of social enterprises. Just to give an example, 47% of social enterprises are led by women in the UK. That compares to just 16% of businesses across the UK economy. Another example, 14% of social enterprises are led by a person from a racialized community, Black, Asian, and minority ethnic background. That compares with just 8% of businesses across the rest of the economy. So that diversity piece, social enterprises are much stronger than the rest of the economy on that. Let's try and just pick out a few others. Enhanced engagement with the procurement team and raised awareness of procurement function across the business. So a lot of our contacts are in the procurement function, and they know that this is a way that they can connect to the broader strategy of the business. And then I'm going to pick out one more, brought innovation into the supplier base. Again, SEUK's research shows that social enterprises are far better than other businesses at introducing new products and services. 66% of social enterprises introduced a new product or service in the last year. And we know that that's, showing much more innovation than the rest of the business community. So those are the benefits that the 30 corporate partners tell us that social procurement brings. If we move to the next slide.
Just wanted to add one point on the innovation.
Oh, yeah, of course.
When we know, I mean, we all know that it's through innovation that we're going to improve also our sustainability performance as an organization. So I think the fact that social companies, social enterprises have a more innovation mindset than other ones is also something very, very important to keep in mind to help us in our sustainability efforts.
Absolutely. Yeah. We also asked the social enterprises the same question: what are the benefits of being involved in this? The top one by far is, if you secure contracts with one large corporate client, it helps you to get contracts with other corporate clients. So, that's the biggest benefit. But it also pushes social enterprises to extend their range of products and services. I'm just going to give you one example. There's a video production company in our membership, and working with a very large blue chip consultancy firm, they found that they were always being asked, okay, that's good. Can you do green screen filming now? Okay, and now can you do filming with drones? And can you do, split screens? And so I think working with this sort of corporate client really pushes these social enterprises to extend their range of products and services as well. So those are the benefits on the social enterprise side. And then if we move on, the social and environmental causes. So as Lucy said, social enterprises invest at least 50% of their profits into their social mission. Employment opportunities is the big one. So people with barriers to the job market, obviously lots of benefits there, but mental health and well-being is another big one. But yeah, just, thought I'd leave that slide on for a moment so that you can see some of the causes that actually benefit in the end of the day. And I think I've just got one more slide. If we move along, I think this is the part that really matters. It's the profit that's invested into those social missions, and it's the jobs that are created. And all of this is just because you're switching from one kind of supplier to another supplier. So I will pause and stop there and hand over to Jen and Jamie, and look forward to the rest of the discussion. Thank you.
Thank you, Jamie. So, oh yes, I haven't updated that slide, sorry, but Jen, this is obviously yours, and Jamie.
Yeah, let me take you through this slide, then I hand over to Jen as well. We started with working with social enterprise probably 2015, something like this. And as Andy mentioned, we are one of the founder members of Social Corporate Challenge in the UK. But it hasn't been easy so far. And it hasn't been because many times, and this is my advice perhaps from the procurement organization to all of you, you have to pay attention, you have to do your homework before you go and speak to your stakeholders. Let me go back, and one of the interesting numbers that Andy was presenting, 63% of the respondents said that their social procurement campaigns helped raising the awareness of the procurement function within the organization. But again, to my point, which is this number is amazing, but if you don't understand who you're talking to and what is really important to them, the chances that your message will not be listened are very high, So do the homework first. Understand what is the corporate strategy, how social procurement can help with that strategy, and then you engage with the conversations. And I would just go through quickly 2 or 3 examples here. They are generic enough that should resonate to most of you anyway. We are all talking about the great resignation, right? So talent is very scarce more than ever. So if you go and speak with HR director, try to cover those topics. How can social procurement help HR to attract or retain talent in the organization? We have at Zurich real cases where people joined the company because they said that among other things, they wanted to work for a company that has a very public, social, and environmental engagement. Yeah, otherwise we would be competing with many other companies out there, and we might not be the most aggressive one in terms of packages, benefits. But this is becoming more and more important when you talk about talent management. Another one that I like to mention, and I think that Sonia, you mentioned this quickly, if you have to deal with R&D people or product owners, it is a fact, and the numbers that you have seen before demonstrate that social enterprise, they are usually much more flexible and agile than traditional business. So what you should do is, if you have a special treatment for startups, use those kinds of elements of guidelines to do business with social enterprises as well. Yeah, don't throw at them a ton of paper contracts, due diligence, onboarding documents, because this will destroy them. They are not ready for this, perhaps. So you have to treat them differently as well. Final point from my side, I think. If you're speaking with your CFO or someone in finance, we have to demystify that social enterprise, they are more expensive or the quality levels are lower. It's not the case. They can compete on equal terms with any other traditional companies. They might not have the scale, yeah, but absolutely give them a chance, and it will be paid back. So, Jen, I don't know if you want to add anything based on the SAP experience.
Yeah, I'd love to. And if you can leave actually Jamie's slide up there, I think it's a really important one. I think the headline, as I think about this, Jamie, is that change begins with empathy, and it's empathy for your buyer, empathy for your trading partner. We refer to our suppliers at SAP as trading partners because it's not just a one-way exchange. It's really an exchange that goes back and forth. And also certainly empathy for your procurement team. I'd like to hit home for a second, Jamie, on just starting with the potential social enterprise. Not every social enterprise is ready to do business with a company the size of SAP or Zurich, and that is okay. That doesn't mean, though, that they can't be ready with additional support. So I'd say take the meeting, understand the value proposition that they're putting out there. And if you feel like they're not ready, understand that there is a huge market out there ready to support them, including organizations like Social Enterprise UK and YSB, Moving World. We have organizations all over that are looking to help ensure that the trading partners are corporate ready. They're ready to do business. And there is an incredible opportunity in most of those programs to engage your people. So we talked about, Jamie talked about the Great Resignation. It's not just about engaging them in the value proposition of the actual transaction. There's opportunity to engage your employees as volunteers, just like we talked about with SPP, to help organizations on their journey. I'd love to share a story actually, and it actually comes out of Andy's ecosystem. Our lead in the UK was considering retirement. And he was like, I've been in procurement for a long time now. I think for me, I'm going to go and consider something else. In 2020, SAP launched a program called 5 and 5 by 25, which essentially is that we commit to spending 5% of our addressable spend with social enterprises and diverse businesses, respectively, by 2025. When this individual found out about this, that his role was now going to not only certainly help his country get the goods and services they needed, but that he was going to be delivering economic, social, environmental impact back into his community and the country around the world. And coincidentally, now I think he is now covering all of Europe for this space. He said, I'm not leaving. This is too important. This is what my career is all about. I know that I was really great at my job as a procurement leader, but now I'm actually able to go home and tell my family the value that I'm delivering in the world. And it's really something that he's really proud to share his story. And his experience is not unique. And that is the really incredible opportunity here. So you get to engage your employees on the way. In terms of buyers, I would also add, Jamie, I shouldn't say everyone's a buyer, but it's not just the procurement team that it's important to engage this opportunity on. Many of us are buyers at our own respective companies, whether we're buying a pencil or we are making a huge purchase from a video vendor company that we're looking to create something. There is opportunity to engage organizations large and small, and everyone can play a role in that. It's not just your sustainability team or your corporate social responsibility team or your procurement team. Everyone has an opportunity to get involved and help create the impact that the organization seeks to create, which is truly an awesome opportunity. And last but not least, procurement team. We talked a little bit about the 5 value pieces, Lucy. I thought that was really awesome. We know that our procurement team is also, they are working against pressure to keep costs down and make sure that value is high. So have empathy and understand what they're working with. If you are a social enterprise out there, not only understand the elevator pitches in terms of the different lines of business, but understand what the procurement team also is up against and have an open, transparent dialogue about some roadblocks for you. As Jamie mentioned, if payment terms are going to be crippling for your organization, speak up. Change is not impossible. It is an opportunity for all of us to take a hard look at the business, opportunities ahead of us and make a change. So change begins with empathy. Think about it from all these different perspectives. I work hand in hand with our procurement team every day, trying to bring in new trading partners at SAP and for organizations like all of yours around the world. I am happy to have a conversation with any of you following this as well. Jamie, I'll hand it back to you.
Thank you, Jennifer. I'm going to stop sharing my screen so that I can see you all again. Oh, nice. Now I can see your faces. This is so much better. I have we're going to kick off now the Q&A session, but I have one question, a bit of a provocative one. But yeah, hey, it wouldn't be me otherwise. I heard a few of you saying, yeah, we need to support the social enterprises. And I'm thinking I have a specific one company in mind that I won't name here because that's not the point. But what about, is that something that could be considered, you think, to actually have the larger corporations investing in the social enterprises to help them with capital funds? Or are we moving away from social enterprises? And there's a specific company I have in mind who has been doing that, investing in those companies that are supplying to them to really drive this innovation. So it was a very specific products, not the innovation, but are we then breaching, the independence? And then are we saying, well, you're not really a social enterprise anymore if you have one of these large corporations investing in you? What do you think? Who wants to take that one up?
Maybe from an SAP perspective, I'll jump in just really quick, Lucy, I'll hand it over to you. We invest in both a financial and a non-financial capacity. So from a non-financial perspective, I think it is incredibly important to spend the time and ensure that the opportunity for goods and services that are coming into your company are the right fit. And they need to be the right fit for the business, no matter what the product or service is. And it's important to invest there. From a financial perspective, I don't see much of a difference, right? Whether you're spending time or you're also adding additional investment, it is a mutual agreement for the organizations that it's a right fit on both parts. So I don't see it as a change in philosophy for the supplier or the trading partner. It's an opportunity for both organizations to continue to grow and get better.
If I may add something to that, funding is one thing, Sonia, but as Jen was saying, I think that many of these organizations, as they are starting their journey, what we see is that just by inviting them to tenders, to RFPs, and giving them the opportunity on equal terms again to bid for it, it's already a learning, is a way to help them, because the next time they will be better prepared, even though they might not have won or be awarded with a contract before. So I think that there is space for everything, and I would not exclude the possibility, if it is a very niche product or service, perhaps, for large organizations to look into it as startups, or incubators of other companies. Why not? But I think that every one of us in the procurement functions, we can help them by engaging with them, by showing what is important to us when we have to make decisions about a contract that needs to go here or there. That's a way of investing in them as well.
Yeah, I was just going to add, I think Jen mentioned payment terms earlier on as well. There are lots of things that corporations can do. And by the way, we've got quite a few social enterprises in the session today. I haven't recognized some of you. Give us your thoughts, please. But payment terms, I know social enterprises that have got invaluable support on sort of securing permits and different sorts of, what's the word I'm looking for? Certifications, that sort of thing. Open up new doors for them. If you've got social enterprises that are working well with you, try and connect them into the rest of your network. Share your category plans, help them to see what you're planning to be spending money on in the next 12, 24 months so that they can put resource in and grow as well, because they need that confidence that their clients do want to work with them long term. So yeah, quite a few things there. A lot of it is just communication, I think. It's good old-fashioned supplier relationship management, and talk to the suppliers, find out what they're doing, and ask them what they'd like to be doing.
I see thanks all. I don't know, Lucy, if you want to add something on there. I see we have a lot of questions also in the chat. Shall I maybe jump to the questions in the chat?
Yeah, exactly. Let's not spend
time
on this. I will add my point on the chat.
Bob Chapsky was asking, how do companies identify if any of their suppliers are social enterprises already? Is it similar to supply diversity, where a third party can help enrich their vendor listing? And sorry, and before you answer, Astrid, please, I haven't seen all the questions before, so if you spotted any, just speak up.
No, I think this is a well-spotted one, because there was active engagement already in the chat, so the questions that were raised were almost all answered. But anyhow, you can also please raise your hand if you want to ask a question. Then it's easier to identify maybe open questions that are not answered. So, but the one that you mentioned, Sonia, is indeed the one I think that is left open. So how do you spot social procurement suppliers?
In the UK, we would do that. In Germany, I think somebody mentioned SEND, Social Entrepreneurship Netzwerk Deutschland. So yeah, the national bodies can do that. That's one place to start. That's what I would recommend. But yeah,
I agree, Andy. And if you're looking for a specific geography and you're not sure who the partner is, Social Enterprise World Forum Community of Practice, I put it in the chat, is a great place to go, and they can refer you into a local partnership body. But also organizations like YSB that work all over the world, again, are a great resource as well.
Yeah, one thing from my side, I think that the topic is maturing. It's definitely growing in terms of importance, I think, and also governments, regulators, they are waking up for this as well. So you will not, at this moment in time, find one single definition of what a social enterprise is. In the UK, we have one, Andy, correct me please if I'm wrong, but 51% of the profits needs to be directed, refunded, or reinvested into a social environmental mission. In Ireland, it's 100%. You know, in the Netherlands, I think they don't have any attachments to profits. So it varies a lot. I think that keeping it pragmatic, if a company is knocking at your door and saying that they are a social enterprise, have the conversation with them at the later stage. If you have to go through a due diligence onboarding program, you can check the credentials perhaps, but don't try to do it beforehand, I think.
And just to add here that there are many organizations, national-wide or regional-wide, that are already building database of corporate-ready B2B social enterprises. At YSB, we just want to try to link everything up, and therefore you can also reach out if you want to have. Okay, apparently the sound is better, thanks. You can reach out to us in case that you want to take a look at your value chain, where are the countries that are the priorities for you, and trying to find social enterprises in those countries.
Okay, great. I'm trying to scan the chat, or anybody.
There's a question from Jose. It looks like.
Oh, yes. This one. Go on, Jennifer.
Yeah, so are all companies willing to set up effective supplier development programs to break the gap? Jamie, I would love to know your perspective. Obviously, this is something that SAP really believes in, that if we want to create the change, then we all need to dig in. But what's your perspective on that? I think you're on mute, Jamie.
I was, thank you. I was saying that I did see one or two colleagues of mine from Zurich as well. So if you want to speak up later, but we are not only looking into companies that can be a tier one supplier of ours, so do business directly with us, but in many cases we try to embed them in our supply chain. So we have a recent example in the UK where the whole facilities management service was awarded to a traditional company, let's say, but we did from the RFP moment on tell them that we would value and use as one decision criteria the engagement with social enterprises that would be working for us directly, because this you can multiply as well the whole thing.
Very good. Other questions? Please also feel free to raise your hand, because we have so many people here in the call. So it's always nice also to meet you and to listen to you, not only to read your questions.
I see Tony White here was asking, are there any good toolkits available for capturing total cost of implementing a proposition based on all the factors discussed? How can we consider some of the tangible and intangible benefits of social procurement over and above base unit price? Yeah, that's the question that always comes back with when you speak to any procurement profession. Doesn't matter what the topic is how do I measure? What's the what KPI can I use? Yeah, that's a good one. I mean, how are you going to, what KPIs, what measures are you going to use to show the benefit to your organization?
I'm not on mute now, but some of the numbers, we couldn't go into more details about what Andy, Lucy were presenting, but you're going to see a lot of good stuff in there. So I would encourage you to dig a little bit deeper, I think, in that. Again, I would strongly recommend that you keep it pragmatic as well and see what resonates inside of your company. Because it might be innovation, it might be revenue generation, it might be cost reduction, I don't know. But then you have to adjust case by case.
Yes, same. I feel that this is very dependent on what do you want to do, if it's direct or indirect, if it's company-wide or only one office or one country. But I would encourage to take a look at what we have in the social procurement manual with more details on those 3 layers that I have presented a little bit before, and select the one that makes sense to your company and to your objectives, and then follow them through the process. And usually what we have seen is that it's never like a 1-year program. It's something that you have to set up for a couple of years. And therefore, having right at the beginning the KPIs that you want to follow up on employee engagement, on cost reduction, on ESG targets that your company already have, and follow them through a couple of years.
Jen, maybe at SAP, do you have specific KPIs or measures on social procurement that you can share without this?
So our particular measure, it's interesting from a financial perspective, we're obviously trying to hit 5% addressable spend on both our diversity category as well as social enterprise. In terms of impact, what we're really trying to do is achieve SAP's sustainability strategy. So we are looking to create a positive economic, social, environmental impact within planetary boundaries. We're trying to achieve our net zero carbon emissions targets. We are trying to connect our supply chain to other parts of goals in our business. So I would say we measure based on, are we achieving our sustainability strategy? Certainly from a corporate social responsibility perspective, also, are we powering economic opportunity for people around the world? Are we improving education? Are we helping build a greener economy? I wish I had a calculator. Someone said, hey, is there a calculator out there? I wish that there was something that we could plug in. I think there's been a lot more investment in other areas, but I think it's coming. And so if anyone is interested in digging in, I know you have 4 individuals right here on the line who definitely are ready to work alongside you.
But what I hear in your message, Jen, is also basically your social procurement indicators, tying them back to your overall sustainability indicators of your company, so that it follows the company strategy. And then, to your point, Jamie, it's easier to buy it to your top management and get the buy-in.
Absolutely.
Right? I mean, you can, at the end of the day, always measure the percentage of spend that you're directing. I would not necessarily recommend that, and not as an objective. Yeah, you can track progress perhaps by applying it, but it's a very economical. And what you're talking here is not about, I don't know, share value or stock markets or something like this. It's much bigger than that.
Just to say, I can see a hand up. I think Inez wanted to ask something. Hey.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Is that okay? It's okay. So my name is Ines Curtius. I'm from Germany, having worked for Airbus Defense and Space for a couple of years. I'm a contract manager and a lawyer. I really loved everything I heard so far. I came in a bit late, but what I'm wondering is, and just this goes also to the podium here basically, is I didn't hear the word contract that often. And I know that typically the sentiments towards contracts are quite diverse, I would say, which obviously makes me sad in quotes, or a bit disappointed, as I think also being working with the World CC, World Commerce and Contracting, that contracts are an essential tool from my point of view to connect basically all the dots you were talking about between SAP and supplier speed, startup speed, social enterprises and whatsoever. So but all I want to say is now is like, don't forget, contracts are a valid tool to connect and not to disconnect you and your good thoughts and intentions to have, for a better planet, all the things you said. So that's actually, because I always worry also at Airbus, it was difficult to get that idea into the heads and the DNA of procurement people because the pressure is so high, right? But so just a little clear, for contracts are really there to be used as a good thing. And there are lawyers out there which really think along those lines: relational contracting, legal design thinking, that's all, access to justice, access for every, so just don't forget about it. That's all I wanted to say.
It's a great point, and we have actually overhauled not only our RFP processes, but we've certainly also we're working through our contracts. So you're exactly right, and we're doing it in partnership with organizations like Social Enterprise UK, like Buy Social Canada, that are working alongside us so that we're embedding the perspective of our trading partner as we do it.
This is an amazing session. I'm going to do something very rude, which I hate doing because I feel this could be so many more conversations, but we need to free up this Zoom link for the next session. We have 2 minutes left. So each of you is allowed 30 seconds for a final, statement, the power statement, if you want to. Who's ready to go? Who wants to go? You don't have to. It's okay.
I'm going to just say one thing. Oh, sorry.
Go on in.
The chat has been fantastic. I've been copying and pasting, and I wonder if we can download the whole chat. We're
downloading the chat.
We
will be posted, because there's fantastic resources.
Loads of really interesting points and links. Yeah. Thank you. That's all.
So I wanted to mention something here. If this is not enough time, feel free to contact me to elaborate more. But it's about category management. Don't try to do this with the lenses of category management because it might not work. The strategy is social enterprise, and the strategy is not doing category management.
Yeah, good point. Yeah.
I would add that everyone has a role to play in accelerating social business. This is not just about corporates and social enterprises. This is about all different people within your organizations working alongside intermediaries and governments. Truly, when social enterprises and corporates partner together, I think we can do a lot of really incredible things with one another, but we can't do it without the support of intermediaries and governments.
Yeah, completely echoing what Jen was saying. I wanted to share the same. It's really rare in this space, I believe, to have such a level of collaboration. And I see that everywhere, like having procurement managers being involved and wanting to speak up to those kind of events. Therefore, if you're interested in this, don't do it alone. There are great organizations who are here to help you, but as well, a lot of companies who have been doing that and who are willing to share as well.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, all four of you and all of our audience for joining today. And I feel like we could have carried on and on and on. Unfortunately, we need to free up the line, but this was really good. Thank you so much. And there's more sessions to follow. I didn't even have time to share that. Please go on svp.earth. There's other great sessions to follow on supplies diversity, on education, on scope 3, on you want it, you got it. Thank you so much. Have a nice evening, afternoon, and rest of the morning. Bye.
Bye all.
Bye-bye.
Bye, thank you.
Bye-bye.